What's up, guys? Welcome back to today's World History Lecture. It is April 1st, April Fool's Day. I can promise you there will be no lame April Fool's gags here. Um, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. So, yesterday we talked about the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, the non-aggression pact between Germany and the Soviet Union, and I kind of gave away a little bit of foreshadowing about what's going to end up happening later on. But for right now, we've got Poland is split in half between Germany and Soviet Union, and things seem to be doing okay. The day that Poland is invaded, then the Allies, Great Britain and France, declare war on Germany to support and back up Poland. And so France starts to mobilize its forces, but France is just so weakened from World War I. They are just beaten to a pulp, and mentally they just have zero interest in fighting again. Really, that's how basically all of the world was after that. Anybody that participated in World War I, and even some of those countries that didn't, that were still economically affected, but basically the whole world was weary of war and wanting to avoid it at all costs. The whole world except for Germany. Germany was really the only country that could convince itself that it had something to gain from war. No one else had anything to gain. So Germany decides to mobilize against France. So again, just like World War I, Germany is going to eventually find itself fighting two wars at once, just like the Schlieffen Plan of World War I. Now, the difference here is that Germany's not really fighting a war in the East yet. They took Poland pretty easily, and now they're just kind of maintaining Poland, which maintaining a territory versus fighting over is a big difference, especially in like the need for manpower. So that's where this comes off. Germany now takes probably 85 to 90% of its military force to the west to take on France. They go through Belgium, defeat Belgium easily, again, because Belgium's also devastated still from World War I. And France puts up a defense and attempts to set up shop and create a boundary between them and Germany. Germany just runs through it. I mean, the French soldiers are just distraught, not wanting to be there, and then they just get run over. And in World War I, we talked about how Germany was very close to getting to Paris. And if you can take the capital city, then you can take that country. And it was, I believe, the First Battle of the Marne that they turn back the Germans and withhold them from France. No such luck this time for France. The Germans get into Paris within probably 4 months, very quickly in terms of war. And the French government has to evacuate, like they have to leave. They have to leave the country. They take, they take coverage in England, and a lot of the French citizens that can afford to leave, they go to either the Netherlands or England. And here you see the picture of Hitler standing in front of the Eiffel Tower after it's been taken, after Paris has been taken by Germany. Now the situation is not funny, but sometimes I kind of chuckle at this picture. Hitler looks like he's posing so hard. It almost looks like a cover for an album. But anyways, they take France, and England is horrified. Oh my goodness, they are so scared. They took France so easily, and now that Germany's taken France, they now have direct access to the English Channel, that body of water between England and the rest of Europe. And now invading England is more possible than ever. Now, it's still not going to be easy, but it is definitely as attainable as it has ever been and will ever be. So England is horrified by this, and Hitler's not going to stop. Like this is going to carry over. This is momentum that he is going to continue to build on. And the Germans are so crazy, or at least German leadership, not all German people, but these Nazis were so crazy that this was expected. Like they foresaw, oh, we're going through Russia or going through France will be easy as cake. It shouldn't have been, but they were 100% correct. It was simple. I mean, they lose plenty of lives, but they were willing to sacrifice and thousands of lives, and that was a small price to pay for the Nazi government. So they take France and Belgium and part of the Netherlands and Luxembourg, really anything that was in its way. And Britain Britain doesn't mobilize. They have to set up defense now. This is the first time they've had to do that in 400 years. They're having to set up defense against an invasion because they know it's coming. Because Hitler sends new British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Remember that name, by the way. Winston Churchill. He's going to become a massive figure in this war and what happens after. He sends new Prime Minister Winston Churchill a peace agreement, a very insulting peace agreement, by the way. We will control everything. You will be a puppet government, essentially, to which Britain obviously is going to turn that down. They would never accept it. And Hitler didn't expect them to accept it. He used that as justification for, well, now we invade. Well, invading Britain is not the easiest thing in the world, as I've mentioned many, many times, because they're an island and Britain's strength is their navy. I mean, it's still to this day one of, if not the most powerful navy in the world. So the Nazis know we can't just show up in ships and take them by sea. So they decide they're going to use their strength, the German strength, which is their air force, known as the Luftwaffe. They're going to bombard England and weaken them so that way they can come from their ships. They can come a sea. So this turns into about a 5 or 6 month battle known as the Battle of Britain. And Germany starts by just bombarding them, dropping bombs. First, they try bombing shipping yards and naval ship reserves and oil reserves to try and weaken the Navy that way. But then they run into a bit of trouble when they find that the British are able to kind of intercept German planes, or they're able to meet them in the air way earlier than the Germans thought they should, and they're confused as to why they can do this. And it's because of an invention known as radar. And next slide, I'll talk a little bit about radar. But radar is using radio waves to, basically it emits a radio wave through the air. And then on this screen, you can track the radio wave's movement. And you can see objects on this basic map based on these sound waves bouncing off. When the sound wave hits something, it registers on that radar screen and says, hey, there's something here in the sky the sound wave's bouncing off of. It doesn't bounce off clouds, it doesn't bounce off birds. It takes a big object, and that object's obviously going to be a plane. So as these, and this is a new creation at this time, radar is. And so as these radio waves are being sent, as these German planes are coming across the English Channel about 100 miles before they even get to England, the English are tipped off that, hey, the Germans are coming. So radar helps thwart some of those attacks. But the Germans decide to adapt. Well, now we need to try and attack the British airfields. where the planes are kept. So they attack those, and then they decide, well, this isn't progressing as we thought, so let's start bombarding at night. Let's start making these bomber raids at night. And that's difficult for German planes because you're limited on visibility, obviously. But it also, you just feel more susceptible at night. The sun goes down, you feel a little more nervous. And then the Germans compound that by now they're no longer just attacking shipyards and airfields. Now they're attacking cities. Now they're attacking civilians. They're going for the core. And then within the Battle of Britain, there's the Battle of London. Hitler had told German Luftwaffe, don't attack London until I specifically tell you to, because London's very far inland, and so it's probably it's much more difficult to get your plane to there safely and back on a full tank of fuel. And so London was actually the exact distance of, bombers have escort planes. They're planes that are meant to protect the bombers because they don't want bombers to get shot down because these bombers are holding all these bombs. And if you shoot down a plane that's holding all these bombs, well, they're not going to affect any of the English civilians. They're only going to affect the German pilots. So they had these escorts, but these escort planes were not meant for long distance travel. Their maximum distance they could get to London, and they could stay in the air in London for 10 minutes before they had to turn around and go back home on their one tank of gas or on their one tank of fuel. 10 minutes is not long. Obviously, the bombers can't leave after 10 minutes. It takes longer than that to do the job. So for half or a third, 2/3 of the mission, the bombers are unprotected and they're getting attacked in the air. So I guess I probably should have pulled that one up. But beginning of the bomber attacks of the air, Germany attempts to achieve an advantage over the Royal Air Force. That's what the British Air Force was known as, the Royal Air Force. I'll call them the RAF. The Royal Air Force was very, very strong as well. Like that, the Navy was unbelievably powerful. The RAF was also highly regarded. So Germany tries to attack London. They're getting, I wouldn't say desperate, but this mission has not gone as planned for them. And they are needing to find a little boost. So they attack London. Winston Churchill tells the citizens when he's preparing for an attack on London, he tells all the citizens, hey, turn all your lights off. Let's turn every light off in town. Make it more difficult for the Germans to hit their targets. Turn the street lights out, all that, leaving nothing but moonlight. And that does have an effect, but also you're kind of just sitting there blind as a civilian. I mean, there's no guarantee you're not going to get hit because they could just blindly drop a bomb and it'll land right on top of you. This was known as the Blitz, when the only light supplied in London was from the explosions of all the bombs being dropped and of all the artillery gunners and all the Royal Air Force planes that are also trying to shoot down German planes. It's a mess, and it's a horrifying time for the British civilians because they are at severe risk of being invaded. And if Britain gives in, if Germany invades Britain, it is over. Europe is gone. Europe is a German state. And if Europe becomes a German territory, then Africa is going to become a German territory, followed by Asia, and then before long, America becomes a German territory. Like this is a huge event. And well, I got ahead of myself here. I should have just kept the slides going. Thankfully, the British are able to push the Germans back. They are able to withstand all of the pressure and all of the attacks, and it's the first kind of defeat for Germany in this whole start to World War II, but it's not one they really have to admit. When they go home, they can say, well, we recalculated things, decided not to take the risk of going full-scale invasion. Did some aerial bombardments, decided we're going to wait. That's what they tell the people. So they never admitted defeat in this battle, but for all intents and purposes, it's exactly what it is. It's a German defeat. It's a British victory. But that doesn't stop German momentum. They continue to dominate France and mainland Europe. And then when British soldiers are deployed into Europe, it's an uphill battle for them. Like, it's one thing to defend your territory, but to go and fight somewhere else that's already been taken, that is a whole other story. Now, in preparation for the attack on London, or really the attack on England, there's a meeting at British Parliament, and new Prime Minister Winston Churchill is speaking to Parliament. And Churchill is a great speaker. He is one of the most motivating speakers ever. You can barely understand him because he has a very, very heavy British accent, and he kind of has a slur in his voice, or in his diction, but his words are very powerful, and he gives a speech. He gives a couple of very notable speeches, but my favorite is right before the Battle of Britain, where English people are just terrified and they're scared of what's coming. And he speaks to British Parliament, and it's transmitted over the radio to the rest of England. And he talks about fighting with bravery, and he talks about defending the island nation, and how they'll look back on in history as their finest hour. And Parliament erupts, and it's an awesome sight. And President Franklin Roosevelt of the United States, tells Churchill that speech alone is worth thousands of soldiers and hundreds of thousands of guns. Like, that was what the British people needed. And I'm actually going to, along with this link, I am going to, move us now to the essential question. I'm going to upload, there's a movie made back in, I think, 2017 called The Darkest Hour, which was a part of one of Churchill's speeches. And it portrays Churchill. I haven't seen the movie in its entirety. I don't know if it's about his entire life or about just these times. But Churchill gives his speech to Parliament, and his most famous line is, "We shall never," and blank. I'm going to link the video. It's a 4-minute video. It's not long, and I think it motivates me. I think it's a great video. I'm going to link it along with this lecture. So click the link that's not the lecture, and watch it and listen to it. And it's one word. The answer is one word: we shall never blank. And it's from Winston Churchill. Now, include this with your other essential questions. Go back to a couple days ago when I made the assignment. The assignment is 3-30 essential questions. Go back, open up that assignment. And if you've created a document and you've been following along, that's great. But those of you that haven't, or maybe this is the first lecture you've watched, or maybe you haven't answered the essential questions on there yet, go and open that. Press create a Google Doc on that assignment page. Don't go and create one a separate tab. Open up the assignment, press create, and then click on Google Doc. And then that is where each day you are going to add the essential question. Do not press turn in after you finish. You will press turn in on Friday after that lecture, after you answer that question. So each day you are adding another essential question and answer to that document. So after today, you should have 3 essential questions and answers on that one document. Okay? There's been some confusion. I know that was not I didn't explain it terribly clear for some that were at the Zoom meeting on Monday, and then many that weren't had no idea. So I want to clear that up. This is uploaded on Wednesday. We are having a Zoom meeting on Thursday, so tomorrow, at 11 a.m. And I've changed my mind for Thursday, for tomorrow. Tomorrow's Zoom meeting, mandatory. I want everybody there. And I've decided I'm not going to lecture at the Zoom meeting. I will upload a lecture separately later. I want us to come together. I don't want any questions. I want to clear some things up on here. I just want everybody to get in, really. I want to see all my students there just so I can account for you. I can say, okay, everyone was here, because administrators are kind of crawling down my back, trying to ask me who's been there, who's been participating, because it's going to go as an absence if you're not. And if you show up Thursday and you do these essential questions along the way, I can tell them for sure you are participating, because otherwise it's an absence, and you can still be charged with truancy if you are not doing this. Is still considered a school day, and these are considered school tasks. And if you blow these all off for the rest, you will be charged with truancy, and that is a serious charge to deal with. So please be sure you are there Thursday. If you absolutely cannot make it, email me and tell me, and then just make sure you keep up with your essential questions. Okay, but you have to have the essential questions done regardless. But that's the plan. It won't be a long meeting, I promise. We can even do a question of the day. If I'm not going to lecture, we can do a question of the day, and I'll upload a lecture later on that you'll have to watch. Okay, so that is the plan. Please reach out. I've emailed a bunch of you to check in to see if you're getting all this and if you're getting your notes and turning in the essential questions. So some of you guys have reached out to me. I really appreciate that. Please ask any question. I am more than happy to answer questions. I want all of us to be on the same page. I am not bothered at all by questions. Okay, please ask them. Please take this as an opportunity to continue to learn. Don't blow this off. Don't think this is a waste of time, because if you think of it as a waste of time, it will be. If you put stock into it, and if you take it serious, and if you put effort into it, it will be worth your time, I promise you. So with that, we will call it a day. Have a terrific day, everybody. And wash your hands, stay safe, take care. See you guys tomorrow.